The following program was made possible thanks to the generous support of our Kickstarter backers.
Well, first Holmes was born, and he got fat, bald, and tired.
Sup, Holmes?
Beware your host, Jonathan Holmes.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the show. I'm here with Chris Chung, who's a wonderful man. I've heard about him first in hushed tones at a harmonics party at PAX East earlier this year, where I didn't run into Chris, strangely enough. Something weird happened to me, and he yelled at me. I'm sorry, that interrupted my thought. Anyway, I should introduce you, Chris, before I bumble any more. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm great.
Yeah, that's excellent. Were you at PAX East this year?
Yeah, I was actually showing off my game in the Mega booth. So
what?
I was on the show floor basically the whole time.
Good grief. I did like 30 interviews with Sinistar's alter ego, Conrad Zimmerman, at PAX East this year. We didn't see you. That stinks. But you live like a mile away from me, so I suppose we can always try to remedy that later if we wanted to. How was PAX East for you? How did that show go?
It was pretty tiring. I mean, I've gone to PAX East every year as an attendee. This is the first year I went as an exhibitor. So, I think it was like Friday. I spent like the first 4 hours on my feet and didn't sit down or have a snack or anything. So I was like, I was out of it, but I made it. I survived. So.
Yeah, and the success has shown itself to grow since then. You're showing off your game. I assume it was because you have a few games, but the game you're talking about right now is Catlateral Damage. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Awesome. How did it go over at the show?
It was great. I mean, we had it up on 2 big TVs, and a bunch of people came by and tried it out. It's just great watching people play it.
It's for people who don't know, what is Catlateral Damage?
So Catlateral Damage is a first-person destructive cat simulator where you play as a cat who's locked up in your owner's house, and you run around and just knock things off shelves and onto the floor with your little tiny paws. It's fun.
And do you get points for knocking things off the shelves? What's the
there are 2 different objectives right now. One is just get a certain number of objects off onto the floor, and then there is a score-based one where all objects have point values. You can get combos if you hit a lot of stuff off, like in a short amount of time. So.
Is there any strategy to trying to knock off stuff in a certain way so you'll be able to combo?
There are some like stacks of books that you can get all at once. Actually, at PAX we found a minor exploit where you could go up on a shelf and knock a bunch of books off, and then if you could get the TV, which was worth a lot of points, in the same combo, it would kind of get you a lot. It was like a times 30 something combo, and it was a mess, but it was still balancing the scoring system.
So you can just run around and throw stuff on the ground if you want, but if you do it strategically, if you decide I'm going to throw this book so it hits this thing and make massive amount of damage with less effort, you get more points. Is that correct?
Yeah. Usually it's just the faster you go, the better, and just trying to get a lot of things off in one short amount of time is usually the best way to go.
Sure. It's available, at least a version of it is available for free right now. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, there's a demo of the game. It has 2 levels in it right now, just online at the website, catlateraldamage.com.
And the Kickstarter. It is on Kickstarter and doing very well as we speak. I think last I checked, you're around 4,000 away from your goal. Is that right?
I think you're just shy of 4,000. I think. It's at 90%. So.
Fantastic. Out of what's the goal for the?
40,000.
40,000, which is a relatively humble amount by Kickstarter standards, and it's only been up for about a week, I think, and you're out there.
Yeah, we launched it last Monday, so.
Good for you. There's a lot of different directions we could go in that conversation. I really want to hear about what motivated you to make the game, what motivated you to put it on Kickstarter, how you think you've gone about having the success, because it's something a lot of people wish they could add. But before I do want to ask about the Katamari connection, if there is one. Spoken in hushed tones.
So I mean, I mean, Katamari is one of the big inspirations behind the game. I think I really like the art style of that game and how quirky it is. Just how like different and fun it is. But yeah, I mean, we were joking at PAX East, telling people that Catlateral Damage is kind of like a prequel to Katamari, where you're a cat and you knock all the stuff on the floor, and then when you play Katamari, you go and roll up all the stuff that's on the floor. But that's not I guess canon, I guess.
Yeah. I don't think, but you never know. Namco may come calling and say, "We want to make this an official prequel," and it would make a lot of sense. And it's got a similar feel in that Katamari is about causing trouble, but in a way that seems so benign and sweet. It's this interesting juxtaposition of like wholesale destruction and like adorable non-threateningness. And you've pulled off something similar, except instead of rolling things up, you're knocking them down.
Yeah.
Pretty brilliant. When did you come up with the idea?
So I made the first prototype in a week back in August, the 7-day first-person shooter game jam. And that's just you make a game in a week. And the only prompt really is make an interesting first-person game. Like a game where you don't shoot stuff, or it's really up to you.
And who was running that game jam? The first-person.
I think it was JW of Glenbeer. I think he started it.
I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah. I think last year might have been the second year they did it. I'm not sure. It was the first time I did it.
Sure.
But I mean, I love cats. I grew up with cats. I think I counted in my lifetime. I've lived with probably about 12 cats. And yeah, and at one point we had in my house 5 at one time. So it's I like to joke that I was partially raised by cats. Yeah. So I mean, when I started doing this game jam, I was thinking like, what would be a cool first-person game that I haven't played yet? And the first thing I thought of was just cats. I was like, I've never seen a game where you play as a cat, and I wanted to see that experience, just like through the eyes of a cat and what they would do, and like how they experience the same everyday places we go, but just on the ground.
Right.
So yeah, that was the first thing, was just to make a first-person cat game, and I was trying to think of the simplest mechanic to do, and it was just hit stuff, just knock things on the floor. So.
Yeah, it's mostly the paw that you see.
That
knocks things over. Though cats do have the tendency to headbutt and sometimes tail whip things. I wonder. Yeah, and as the Kickstarter grows, that could be a stretch goal.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Headbutt. Yeah. What an awesome Kickstarter you're running. And are you surprised at the success?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, so after the game jam last year, I think there was like 1 or 2 YouTube videos that featured it, and then I think there were a few gaming sites picked it up. There was like Kotaku and Rock Paper Shotgun or whatever. And that was enough for me to say, like, oh, there's enough people that might like this game. Like, I could build this out. Because, I mean, I've always done, like, if you look at my website, I've done a bunch of just small game jam type games. So this is the first one I was like, well, I could probably build this into something larger. And I kind of want to do that as just to get more experience as a game developer myself. And just see if I could make a finished product and sell it and, release somehow. So yeah, so after, I think it was like in September, I started just working on it part-time, because I had a full-time job working as a QA tester at a local game company.
Oh, really? Are you at liberty to say which company?
I mean, I think it's on my website.
Yeah, so you can probably say.
Yeah, so I was working, so I actually started, let's kind of go back a little bit. I got my first game industry job at Demiurge Studios in Cambridge, 2012, March of 2012. And then later that year, I went to Subatomic Studios, which is also in Cambridge, doing the same kind of QA stuff. So yeah, so I was working at this company, and I'd come home and work on this game part-time. And then it was sometime in January of this year, there was a site that it's called Alpha Beta Gaming. They show AAA and indie games that are in development that you can test. And they posted about my game on their website and on Tumblr. And I always check my website traffic to see, the 5 people that go to look at it or whatever. And then, if I post it to Reddit on our game dev for feedback, every now and then people would play it and give feedback. But yeah, this site posted about it, and I just happened to check my analytics that day, and I was wondering why my analytics were all gone. It was just like a flatline graph. And I was like, that doesn't seem right. And I looked at the last day, and it said like 17,000 hits. And I was like, I had to like track it back to see, because I hadn't heard of this website. I tracked it back, and then it was like that week everyone was writing about it. Like every gaming site, like NBC News wrote about it, like Time wrote about it, and I was like, I didn't contact anybody. I didn't, I just put this thing up on the internet, and I guess the internet just took care of it. So
it is a common theme. Doesn't happen to everybody, sadly, but if you happen to fall in the right place at the right time, you don't have to do any PR. It's teaching a lot of smaller developers this weird lesson of like, don't tell anybody about your game. And when they discover it themselves, it'll make them feel all the more special. So they'll talk about it even more. And it's almost like a reverse psychology form of public relations, and it's working. It worked for you. It's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it was weird because like everything, like like a while back, I kind of figured like I really just want to be. I want to make games. Like QA is okay, but I really want to just make my own games. And I think going the indie route was like my dream. Like doing indie games, my own games, being my own boss, like would be awesome. And like so, I would read up on everything, and people are like, well, you have to bug the press about your game. You have to like send all these emails and hope that someone reads it. And then this happened, and I did absolutely nothing, and it was like I don't know who to believe anymore. I'm just gonna make my game.
I feel like there used to be this idea that we could kind of twist fate the way we wanted to. So certain games are deemed the ones that are worth talking about. The press was kind of the gatekeepers to that, and all of that has been completely destroyed. The cream rises to the top in a totally different way now, through Let's Plays, through just Twitter, through Facebook. This is how NBC is finding out about games now, not to undercut my super duper importance as a video game blogger, but it's not so much about us anymore. We're a much smaller piece of a larger puzzle that you have managed to put the pieces together for without putting a ton of effort into it. All you had to do was make a thing that was cool, and it got to where it needed to go. That is so great. When did you get started in developing your own games?
So I think it was back in high school, probably my junior or senior year. I discovered Game Maker, which is a pretty easy tool to whip up games. I think Blender actually uses it for their games now, which is crazy that it's still around. But I started out just like changing art assets in tutorials, and eventually I learned like some coding in high school and learned like Game Maker's coding. So I started making my own kind of games. And I think it was at that point, I always was playing games. Like I'm a huge Nintendo fan. Like I've been playing games forever, and like I realized like I just want to do game stuff. Like I want to make games. Like, this is really cool. Like just something about putting the art and the code together and then seeing this thing come out that you made. It's just like a really awesome feeling. And I was like, I want to do this. Like so, when I was looking at colleges, one of my cousins went to Worcester Polytech here in Massachusetts, and they actually had a pretty new game development program. So, I applied there, and I got accepted, and started off in their game development program. I was actually doing the art side of game development with a double major in computer science, but that's a lot of work and doesn't have a lot of overlap, and I'm not that good of a programmer, I guess, or I wasn't back then. So I had to actually drop that to a minor and do the art full time. But yeah, it's actually funny. I don't know if I told you this, but I think it was in 2008. WPI had a Smash Bros. Tournament that I believe you were covering.
That is right. That was my very first video, at least that I remember, doing for Destructoid ever. I wore a suit and stuff. And I love Worcester Polytechnical Institute. That's where an old pen pal of mine named Jen Sang, who later, weirdly enough, went on to work for Nintendo, and currently cosplays as Sexy Layton and Sexy Luke at anime cons and like PAX East. That's she went to school there 15 years ago or something. Yeah, funny. Small world. Were you at that Smash Brothers tournament in 2000?
Yeah, I was probably like 10th in line or something. I was like one of those kids who stayed overnight and stayed up in the in the campus center waiting for it to open. But I lost in the first round, but it was just
remember. Yeah, absolutely. It was such a cool event. Nintendo, so back and forth Nintendo is between like suddenly doing something really cool like that shows the thinking outside of the box, wanting to treat people like show the consumer how important they are, and then suddenly other stuff, well, they seem to drop the ball. Such a strange, so many different people that makes up that company is probably why. Do you remember who you played as? Smash Bros. Bro?
I believe I played as Meta Knight because I really like Meta Knight, and he was new in that game.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's just they had the classic controllers, and I think everybody's used to playing with the GameCube controllers. So I think I was playing like a pro Smash player, and we were both just like flopping around, like falling off the stage. It was awful. But, I mean, it was a really cool event. But.
Sure, and you were at the recent Smash Brothers 4 event at Best Buy. We actually, I managed to get you. I went twice. The first day, the footage washed out. And I was sad because you were there the first day. I was like, oh, we got the guy who made Catlateral Damage in the video. How cool is that? Too bad all the video footage got dumped. We went again a few days later. You were there again. So we got to get you in anyway. So you're really into Smash Brothers, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember when I got my N64, it was like one of my first consoles. I remember Smash Bros. Came out, the first Smash Bros. Came out, and I remember like, I must have been like 8 years old or something. I was like, I wrote my mom this like really big letter of how much I really need this Smash Bros. Game, and I wish I still had that because it was ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, I play a lot. I don't play competitively, but I do really enjoy that game, and it's really awesome. I have some friends that play too. So.
Sure, absolutely. Hopefully, as it turns out, you live like a mile from my house. You could actually, if you get bored of doing the show this way, we could just do a 5-minute pause and you can come over and we'll finish the show face to face if you want. N64 is one of the systems you grew up on then, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think so. I didn't actually end up getting into video games until maybe like 4th grade, which I think my dad had one of the old Game & Watch, like credit card size games that I played before. But I had a friend in elementary school who had like a Super Nintendo and a Sega Genesis and all that stuff. So that was like my first like dive into video games. I was like, wow, this is awesome. And I think later my mom told me that she like was hesitant to let me get into that. And when it finally came that time, she was like, oh, all right. So my first console was actually Sega Genesis.
Ah, okay.
And yeah, I love the old Sonic games. But then after that, I ended up getting an N64. And then I think I got like a refurbished Super Nintendo after that. And I guess it was all downhill from that.
Yeah. So you're about, you told me before the show, I had mentioned that you could really be any age. When you grow that kind of awesome goatee and have your hair long but pull backable, you could be 20, you could be 50. It's awesome. You're kind of like an ageless guru in my mind already. But you are a little younger than me. You're about 11 years younger, I think. So you were around for this time when pixel-based graphics and polygon-based graphics were kind of both there. There was a transition going, but people were kind of equally exposed to both if they had gotten a Sega Genesis and N64 shortly after. So did you see, as a kid, did you see a big difference between those two? Did you see like a vast superiority in polygons over pixels and vice versa? And do you think that shaped kind of your taste in games moving forward?
I don't know. I mean, I hadn't really thought about it. Yeah, I don't really remember like having the. I mean, obviously when you make the jump to a new. Well, back then when you made the jump to a new generation, it was like, oh my gosh, these graphics are the most realistic graphics that will ever happen. Even though like.
And it's Mario 64. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I really even now I still really like pixel art and pixel graphics if it's done really really well. And I think a lot of the later like Super Nintendo and Genesis games like they I don't know how they did it. So like they crammed some amazing graphics into those games. And I think it was the limit of the system really helped them be really creative and like really showed I feel like now we kind of lack that because you can make a game without really worrying about specs or whatever.
Sure.
Especially if you're an indie. So you don't really have any limits on creativity. So it's like I don't know. I think it's hard to do something remarkable now it might have been back then. But
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I was reading an interview with the Hello Games guys who are making No Man's Sky. I think so. I believe they were saying they felt like the fact that you can basically, anyone can just boot up Unity and use the preset tools to make whatever they want is causing people to not push what they can do and create their own engines and kind of innovate and evolve what things can do because it's so easy to just drop in on the ground floor and start creating. So I never thought of it that way, but it's a weird sort of dichotomy between it's great that anybody can make a video game now, but also people don't have to try as hard in order to create. What did you make Catlateral Damage in, actually?
It's made in Unity.
Yeah?
Yeah, I started using it towards the end of my time at WPI, and I picked it back up for this game because I figured I knew a little bit about it, and it's pretty easy to get started. So I just refreshed my memory and just kind of went with it. So. But,
how hard has it been to reacclimate to that?
Not that hard at all. I mean, I think once you understand how the systems and stuff work in the editor and like how to get the art and the scripts and everything working, it's pretty easy to just kind of put something together. But it's also really nice. There's a lot of resources online, like tutorials, and also other people who like the support forums and like Stack Overflow or whatever, those type of sites that you can ask a question and people will answer it. And it's really nice because if I have a problem in Unity, I can type like the exact problem I'm having, and someone has had that same exact problem and solved it already. it really saves a lot of time, and don't have to smash my head against the wall over it.
Absolutely, yeah. But that speaks to the point Hello Games was making. Exactly, like you don't have to figure it out on your own. It's been figured out for you. However, if it weren't for that, you wouldn't be able to make a game that is unlike any other game on the market, as far as I know, a cat knocking over stuff in a cute QB world game called Catlateral Damage. So, there is one other game. You'll have to come over to my house. I've already invited you just now, without even meaning to. It just came out of my mouth, to play President Cat on the Wii, unless you've already played it.
I haven't heard of that, no.
No, it is not. Sadly, you do not play as a cat. You play as some people who desperately want to make a cat named Rina happy. She is the president of a magazine company in Japan, a magazine publisher, and she just sits in her office as a cat will, a realistic cat, meowing and wanting things. And you've got to solve puzzles for her, help her play the piano, suck love out of the air with a vacuum cleaner as you're driving a convertible. I think that she walks a tightrope to a castle in the sky at some point. It's a pretty good video game.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Yeah, they made like 3,000 copies of it or something, and Adam Dork, who is old Destructoid alumni, somehow got me a copy just for the hell of it. I owe him my life. Thank you so much, Adam. Yeah, you'll have to come over and play it. But yes, speaks to the point that so few games about animals, at least in the past, were deemed marketable. Like Catlateral Damage is doing a lot of things that most big publishers would say too risky. It's about an animal. The graphics are kind of lo-fi. There's no shooting of anything. It's defying a lot of these conventions. Did you feel like that you had a lot going against you because of that, if you ever wanted to try to market the game on a big level?
I don't know. I think, at least right now, personally, it seems like, in the game industry, there's not a lot of diversity, I guess, with games. Like, I mean, even I was watching E3 a week or two ago, and it just seemed like a lot of the, at least AAA games, were like, you're a dude shooting other dudes, in this dystopian future. Like, every single game was like that. And then there's like, every now and then there's like, oh, now you're a dude shooting kinda not really dudes in a happy environment. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like, and I think even on the indie scene, there's that issue now too. Because I mean, a few years ago, AAA was always about dudes shooting dudes, and in the indie scene, there were things like Braid, things like World of Goo, crazy things that people hadn't seen before.
Sure.
Which is probably why all these people are playing more indie games these days. But I feel like, kind of like we were saying, it's very accessible now, and I feel like a lot of new indie developers are kind of falling into the same traps where they're just making like platformers that have a gimmick or a mechanic, they're basically remaking Braid with something else.
Sure.
With pixel art, like really low end pixel art, and I mean that's great, but I mean I feel like the industry is kind of getting saturated with these type of things, and at least for me, I look out for like first and foremost like what the gameplay is, like if it's a platformer, like okay, but like is there like is there any interesting gameplay, like is the core gameplay interesting, and does it not use pixel graphics just because it's an indie game? Like I don't know, I feel like if you can get a mechanic that's interesting, or like a theme that people haven't seen, I think that really helps at least visibility, or getting people interested in it. So I mean, at least for me, when I make games, I try to look for that. Like I try to think of a theme or a gameplay mechanic that at least I haven't seen in a game, and try to build off of that. And,
sure.
Keep it pretty simple. So don't kind of overload it with features. Just the thing you do in the game should be the most fun thing, and it should be interesting enough that people will want to play it if they see someone else playing it or they hear about it. So I mean, even with Catlateral, it's like with Catlateral, I was like, well, I haven't seen a game where you play as a cat, and the game jam was first person, so that's why the game's first person. But like it's like at its core, it's a first person game without guns. That you basically just have melee weapons, and I mean that's been done before, but in the context of like cats, like I mean that's I don't know. I mean, to me, I think that's a pretty interesting idea. And
absolutely. And I meant to get back to it. What do you think it is about cats that you find so inspiring, at least in this game?
What do I find inspiring?
Yeah, what is inspiring? There's something about a cat, isn't it? As we've seen, cat videos on YouTube, more so than dog videos, more so than panda videos, more so than llama videos. It's the cat videos. There's even like cat video YouTube conventions now with the tens of thousands of people going. Something about a cat connects with people, gets them feeling like they can relate with it, but also be fascinated with it. At least that's how I see it. What do you think it is about the cat that made you think, I'll just make a whole video game about that? Sure.
Well, yeah, like I said, I grew up with cats, and I love cats. We never owned a dog, so we've had other types of pets, like we've had a ferret and like a rat before, but we've always had, like, the majority was cats.
And you love the cats the most?
Yeah, I do, like, really like cats. I'm like a big cat person.
What do you think you love about those cats?
I think it's just they seem really smart, and they're just like, I don't know, they act like they're smarter than you, but then of course when you feed them, they're like all over you, like like you're the best person ever. But they just have, I mean, every cat that I've had has had a different personality. Like they're kind of like small humans. They all like different things, or hate different things, or even like the way they interact with each other or with other humans. They're just like they're very kind of social and personable.
Huh.
And I don't know, they're just like, it's kind of interesting to see, it's like, you can like say that it's just one animal, it's a cat, right? Like just like anything else. But, if you spend a lot of time with a cat, you really learn, its personality and its mannerisms, and like every cat is slightly different. So it's kind of cool to see, like is it a scaredy cat, or is it a really personable cat, or, I don't know. I think that's kind of what I like about them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You look at it and you feel like it's a mystery, because they've got a poker face always. They're like, like, what is he thinking? What is she thinking? And then you get to know them, and you get a little glimmer of what they're about, and that opens it up enough that you can just start projecting anything onto them. Like I feel like cats are kind of the Boba Fett's of the animal world, in that you find out just enough about them to give them a spark and like open up your mind into thinking about what it would be like to be them. But from there you can fill in all the blanks and kind of create who they are in your imagination, which is perfect for video games. Like when I'm playing that cat, I feel like I have total permission to be just as big of a douchebag as I would be in GTA or whatever, but I'm like an adorable furry friend, so there's really no guilt to it. A cat, what was my cat doing? Right now I'm looking at something my cat was completely destroying like all morning. and I was way too tired to do anything about it. And I got up and looked at her, and she's just like, and I was like, I can't be mad at you. You're the best. Come here. I'm just going to rub you down and then put you up on the refrigerator or something. Yeah, so for me, you found a way to do a guilt-free acknowledgement of the sadistic side that we all have, and cats have too. They want to knock over stuff. They want to destroy. But to make you feel good about it and charmed by yourself as you play it. Like, you like yourself more when you play Catlateral Damage. Because, like, isn't it funny? I destroyed everything in the house. Don't you wish you could do that in real life? I know I do. Haha. But I'm a cat, so it's fine. Great job.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the game itself is actually based on one cat that I had growing up. His name was Nippy, and he was kind of like my childhood pet. And he was like, I think he was like the epitome of a cat. Like, he was incredibly smart. He was basically the king of the house. Like, he would, if he was hungry, he'd let you know until you fed him. And, after that, he didn't really have anything to do with you. But he was also really friendly. So, like, anyone who came over, he would be up and, like, greet. And, like, he liked to spend time with us. And, just the stuff he used to do. Like, some cats just, they just hang out, they eat, whatever. But, like, he would totally, like, jump up on the kitchen counter when he wasn't supposed to. And I know he used to just, like, if we had dinner and put food down the sink, down the disposal, like, he would go down and, like, reach his paw in and, like, drag stuff out and start eating it, and, like, it was like he'd knock stuff over, and he would, I think to non-cat people, he would be, like, the worst pet ever, like, just because of all the trouble he would get into.
Sure.
But, on the other side, like, he totally was, like, all over us, and, like, like, at night, sometimes he would come under the covers and, like, snuggle with us, like, in the winter when it was cold. Like, he was just awesome. And
yeah.
He actually just passed away 2 weeks ago. So,
I'm so sorry.
Kind of sad, but yeah. So I'm glad to be like dedicating this game to him.
So you pretty much play as him in the game.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's so nice. He'll live on forever in that game. And the way you describe cats, could also work as a description for Batman. Like, they do whatever they want. They're smart, and they solve whatever problems, and they don't worry about the rules. But then when they like you, like when Batman is nice to you, they're like, oh my god, Batman likes me. Like, it feels so good to know that this badass jerk approves of you. Huh. Interesting. Is there going to be, now my mind is alive. My imagination is just blown through the roof, thinking of all the things you could add to this game potentially. Earlier you said you have to watch out for feature creep. You don't want you want to write like a catchy pop song of a game, not like a complex, Dream Theater style, multi-layered opera. Not that there's not a place for that, but it's a little bit harder to get your ideas across when you're packing so many ideas in a small space. So, but now there's so much. Is there going to be a put your paw in the sink and get the scraps out mechanic?
I don't know. I think cats have a lot of different things that they do. Like, they're just, there's so many things that they could get into. And I think at least for this game, you're trying to want to, like, boil those down to, like, the core stuff. So, like, even cats like to knock stuff over. Like, that's the thing that they do. So, like, sure. Being able to knock over everything is pretty cool. But, yeah, this game was originally, like, in my notes, my original notes of the game was like a cat simulator. So, right. We'd like to add a lot of different things that cats can do, like, like take catnip and kind of like freak out, or like possibly chase mice or something. But we're trying to see, how hard it would be to put those features in and how they might affect the game. Because the core of the game is like making a mess and throwing stuff around. Sure. So if it's something that kind of distracts from that or detracts from that, or isn't very fun, it might not be worth adding. But yeah, I want to. There's definitely more to cats than knocking stuff over. So.
Well, yeah. There's like three other things. There is, from what I can gather, there's knocking stuff over. There's wanting attention. There's needing to eat. There's needing to poop. Mm-hmm. And there is potentially. This is what I have to use on my cat and my dog to try to get them to stop. So right now you have a game where it sounds like it's mostly about you against the clock. But you could add you against, hunger, but then also needing to go poop. So the cat might, start to get hungry and not want to knock stuff over anymore, just want to, like, lie around and relax. So then you feed it, and then it gets energy again. But then you could have a poop meter. People are obsessed with cat poop. So then you'd have to take time out to poop. So how do you manage your poop meter against your urge to destroy everything? And then what if somebody like you could put yourself in the game, which would be awesome. I would love to see you in the game with a spray bottle. How do you get around that? And how would that potentially wreck your motivation to destroy everything if you got sprayed in the face with water? Fun! Is that all stuff you'd already thought about already? I hate to...
Not really. I think like having humans might be interesting to put in the game. I know people have suggested like a game mode or something where the human's chasing you and you have to kind of... It's basically the same gameplay where you have to knock stuff over, but you have to like not get caught. But like I said, we're trying to like keep the scope pretty low initially, and then see how these things might affect the game, how hard they might be, because we're hoping to get the game out by the end of this year.
Oh wow, awesome!
So, I think what's good about games now, especially for indie games, is you can release the base game and just support it and keep adding more features, more game modes, content, stuff like that. So if the game does really well, we could always add a bunch of features later and like like expansions or whatever.
Sure.
Just to keep the game fresh and keep building it up to be a really really awesome thing. But
absolutely, keep people talking about it. Divekick is doing that. Divekick, they said, as long as people keep playing the game, they will put out free updates with new characters. And Johnny Gat from Saints Row is one of the first to be in there. I think 1001 Spikes might be doing that. Minecraft, of course, kind of most famously did that. They just put it out there and then kept updating it. So, speaking of Minecraft, any chance you'd be able to do any of your like build your own levels sort of thing?
That's something that I really like. I was pretty obsessed with Minecraft, like senior year of college. It was pretty bad. But I think, I definitely like games. I know, like, way back when, like, PS1 era, I played a lot of, like, Tony Hawk, and they had their own, like, stage builder or whatever, and I really do like that component of games. And I think for this game it works really well, because I figure people might want to, like, build out their actual house, and then, destroy it as their cat or whatever.
Sure.
That's something that I definitely like to do. But yeah, again, we're going to see how much work that might be. I don't want to spoil anything about the Kickstarter, but it might be something we're looking into for a stretch goal potentially.
Neato. Okay.
So.
Sounds good. And I don't know how easy it would be these days with PC games in particular. You can just be like, yeah, here's the code, mod it if you want. And before you know it, like, people have made so much for you and shared it, and then have got people talking about your game. Minecraft, in a way, is just kind of a mod sim. It just lets you mod as you want, and people, of course, run with that. So, a lot of different things you could do. Pretty exciting. How are you feeling right now on the cusp of potential Kickstarter success? $40,000.
It's exciting. We were talking about, so I think it was, January, when the game got pretty big in the press. I was actually talking to the guys at Firehose Games, which is in Cambridge. They're an independent company. And they're starting up like an indie accelerator program. So
incubator?
Incubator, accelerator. I don't know. It doesn't really have a name, I don't think.
Yeah.
I've just been calling it accelerator.
Sure. It'll keep you fast and warm, either way.
So that's where they take on like an indie dev or a team of devs that are working on a game and kind of like multiply the work they're doing with marketing help, development help, stuff like that. So I'm actually working with them. I started working with them, I think it was right before PAX East this year.
Okay.
In April. It was like after PAX we were like thinking like how we can, get some like pre-funding for the game, because it's, I think we have a pretty clear vision of how it's going to be, and like I said, hoping to release this year. So we just started on that, and the game itself, like, I guess, went viral once, so it seems like it has something that people like and want to play, and like I want to spend money on, which is, it's weird. I feel like it's, that's another thing, like with I guess, like typical indie advice is like people hate spending money, so you have to like convince them to buy stuff. But like with this game, people just want to throw their money at it, and it's I don't know, it's crazy to me because I mean I'm a pretty frugal person, so I don't know, like I only buy games on Steam sale, which is probably, but yeah, I mean I think the Kickstarter when we were talking about it seemed to have a lot of promise, so yeah, it's pretty exciting that we're almost there. We're very very close, and we can see it getting funded and.
Sure. And if you just get the 40,000, will that be really enough? We talked to Holy Wow Studios a couple weeks ago. They were doing a Kickstarter, I think a similar goal as yours, but in all honesty, they were a little worried about meeting just their goal. They could have made the game if they did, but it would have been a much larger struggle. They would have really had to live like vagabonds for a bit and, be basically eating ramen noodles and staying up all night and barely scratching by. For you, if you hit the 40,000, is it going to make life difficult if that's all you get, or is that actually a realistic number as to what you'd need to live comfortably and make the game?
Yeah, so that's one thing I think, especially with game Kickstarters, that people either do like a really low goal, so they guarantee they get some money, but it's probably not enough to cover the game, or they go for like a really high goal to, I guess, make the game look better maybe or something. I don't know. Sure. And then if they don't get if they don't get close, they don't get any money. But when we were doing the planning for this Kickstarter, we did a pretty good job, I think, of calculating how much time this is going to take and what like features and stuff we want to get, and go for kind of like a bare minimum, like what can we get done and be happy with, like how much that's going to cost, and and have it out by the end of this year. And then we added like a buffer on top of that for, if we miscalculated or if things take longer. So sure. I'm pretty confident with our calculations that this is enough to make this game like the way we want to, without cutting too many corners or starving for a few months. But also we're actually in the Ouya Free the Games program too.
Oh, that's right.
So if and when we hit the goal, they'll be matching the funds, and we'll be bringing the game to Ouya as well as Steam. So, yeah. So I think that's pretty good.
That's super good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Have you spoken with the Ouya people directly, or has that been through Firehouse?
I think they actually contacted me in January saying that they think the Catlateral would be really good on Ouya, but it was still pretty early back then for me. I wasn't really sure where the game was going, and I was still working a full-time job, so I wasn't sure what to do. But yeah, since I've been working with Firehose, we talked to them, and it's interesting because the part of that program is that the game has to be exclusive on Ouya for a few months, but that doesn't include Steam. So we'll actually be bringing it to Steam and Ouya probably around the same time. So I know that's one thing people are sometimes worried about is like, oh, I don't have an Ouya or whatever,
Sure.
It's going to be there for a few months, but
right.
Yeah, and I mean, I think even if I think when I was looking into it, since the game is made in Unity, it should be pretty easy to port to Ouya. And I mean, the game already supports like Xbox 360 controllers, so that should be pretty easy to translate over. And yeah, I mean, if they're doubling our funds, like I think it's it should be pretty good deal for us. So.
Yeah, they are. I think a lot of people talk about Sony running the most indie-friendly business in town because they have the Indie Pub Fund, which is awesome. But I think Ouya might beat them just by a little bit, and it's sad to me that Ouya has had this real turn in terms of how it's been warmly embraced by the press and by just kind of the culture of video games in general. It's funny how things have changed. You're old enough, you're far from old, but you're old enough probably to remember a time when you knew about like what maybe 10 other people thought of the video games you were playing. So it wasn't like a big thought of, oh no, I can't play this video game or I can't like this console because millions of people are going to think that I'm making the wrong decision. They're going to frown on me for this. But that's where we're at now. And people loved Ouya. the idea of it and liked it just for the sake of liking it. And now they kind of hate it just for the sake of hating it after a few marketing, someone called them marketing blunders. I didn't think they were really that bad, but they made a few flubs, and now they're kind of trying to crawl back, and I hope they make it. Because everything they stand for is still really fantastic, I think.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, I wasn't a backer of the Kickstarter. I mean, that was, you know, that was probably a year or two ago now that they did their thing. But I mean, I've been following it, and they sent me a console to develop on. So I mean, I've been playing around with it. And I mean, I really like it. It's a really nice console. And,
Yeah.
Especially since it's pretty easy to develop on. Like, it seems great, at least for indie developers like me, to be able to, you know, put your game on a home console that easily. And, you know, it's pretty cheap for, you know, people to, like consumers to pick up. I mean, yeah, I mean, I still really like the idea behind it. And, you know, I mean, I'd like to support it and hope that other people would too in the future.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I think it may end up having a late in the day renaissance. You see that happen every once in a while. It happens in professional wrestling. I don't know, all the time. You've probably seen it. Somebody does a heel turn, then a face turn, and they're a good guy and a bad guy in terms of people's public perception. It's still super cheap. It's still a $100 console where you can play all sorts of weird, interesting stuff in games like yours and Whoa Dave. Whoa Dave is coming to it. That'll be fun. I don't know if you're familiar with Whoa Dave.
no, I haven't heard of that.
That's a heck of a game. You're a little man, and Cyclopses are after you. What do? You hit them with fried eggs, green ones, and then they fall down and drop their money. Collect the money. Whoa, Dave, you did it. Pretty cool game. You'll have to play it.
Awesome.
Yeah. Come over to my house. We've got a Ouya. I still have to hook up, actually. Speak of the devil, I bought one like day one, and then I've been too sidetracked to actually attach it to anything. But I will, because I love the idea. Ouya forever. Speaking of things thinking outside of the box, that is what I attribute Catlateral Damage's success in part to, is that you seem to approach your concept for the game as to not what does a relatively small subset of people whom seem to be everyone. If you look at video game blogs and websites and whatnot, you look at the comments, you think, oh, there's only these kinds of people who want to play video games. But there's actually a much larger world outside of that. And you made a game that would potentially appeal to both the small and the large. You made a game that's kind of for everybody, potentially. Not just people that think that they like video games. It's similar to what happened in comic books. Comic books in the 90s, narrow, more and more narrow focus on just like ultra-masculine, rippling veins and striations, anti-hero comic books with blood and guts and whatnot. And the readership shrank because they were just chasing one small subset of the readership so hard. Then all of a sudden people started to blow it up and make comics for everybody again, and they kind of bounced back because they were choking themselves to death, sadly. Do you see something similar as that happening at E3, and do you see evidence that people are sick of being choked by only make this kind of, you know, hyper-realistic, gritty, power fantasy, bloody, decapitated heads, open world, hurt people, fun, you know? Do you see that as something people are tiring of?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I think, I think we're still kind of attached to that, I guess, perception that like most gamers are males in their, you know, teenage years or, you know, like early 20s that just want to like shoot stuff. But I think like at this point, there, you know, I think it's something like it's basically half and half male and female, like gamers.
Sure.
I think the average age of a gamer is like 30 something, like at least it was a few years ago. And yeah, I think you know, some people are just getting tired of that type of game and they're looking for, you know, new type games that they can play. I mean, I think that's kind of what happened in the mobile industry, like iOS and Android. It's like how many people are playing like Candy Crush, because that's, you know, that's not a shooting game. That's a, you know, game
Sure.
about candy. Like I think people are you know, seeing these type of games that I guess aren't targeted. I mean, I think that's one of the another one of those like things that they say, like, you know, game development axioms is you have to like find your target audience and like direct the game towards that demographic or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know if I really believe that anymore. I mean, I can see like even the success of Minecraft. Like that game is like, you know,
I have no idea who the target audience for that was. Yeah,
exactly.
Like
I mean,
Lego fans or something? Is that everybody? And history has shown that men, women, kids, adults, just about anybody who's interested in making something is going to find something to like about Minecraft. And the culture that built up around it was very inclusive and kind of about the idea that this is a game for everybody. It's funny to see how the three big publishers are approaching that in different ways, because they seem to have some awareness of it. And I do think that Sony was woken up to the idea that indie games are kind of a big deal now when their own games like Journey did so well, and when they saw how well Ouya did. It seemed to, I noticed kind of a key change in them right around then. And they talked a lot about indie games. Last week's guest, Axiom Verge, Tom Happ was their care of the Indie Pub Fund. But they still seem to be kind of chasing the idea of what an indie game should be to me, or what they think the profitable ones are, as opposed to really thinking fully outside the box. Whereas Nintendo was doing like what? Like Splatoon and like security camera simulation game? Like, that's Miyamoto's new thing. It's like, don't you like security cameras? Everyone likes security cameras. Let's make a game about them with Star Fox in it, maybe? Out of all the publishers you saw, which one did you think, like, yeah, I might want to hitch my wagon up to them at some point? They seem to be getting it. Did you have a preference there?
So I think I have two. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, so I guess, you know, being a gamer my whole life and then transitioning into a developer, like I still have both those sides. So I mean, like, even at PAX East this year, I felt that kind of tension where it was like, it was awesome to be on the show floor, like showing off my game. Like, as a developer, that's amazing. That's like a dream come true. But like as a gamer, like I missed out on the Mario Kart tournament, like the Mario Kart 7 tournament, which I got 3rd place in last year. And, you know, I wanted to see if I could do better. And like, you know, I missed out on the gamer side of PAX, but the developer side was awesome. So I mean, I guess I kind of feel that way about like E3. So like as a gamer, like I was totally like with Nintendo. I was like, Nintendo has all these cool things. Like they had like one game about shooting, and it was like girls shooting ink onto the ground.
And they're like toy girls. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm pretty excited. I mean, also they have Smash Bros. So I mean, they always have my vote if they have Smash Bros. But I mean, as a developer, I had to side with Sony, I think, because you know, as an indie developer, like Sony seemed like the one who got it. You know, like, they understand that people find out about games through streaming, like through Twitch. So like, build that into the console. You know, they understand the whole indie boom where, you know, people want to play that type of game, and they're very open to developers that way. So I mean, yeah, as a developer, I think I don't know. I watched all three. I think the first time this year. I usually just watch like the Nintendo one and then catch highlights, but this year I actually like watched all of them. And Microsoft's was just, I guess, more of the same, just shooty games.
Yeah, I think there was some other. What did they? There was Cuphead was at Microsoft's. That was kind of a. I mean, I think they all are kind of getting it. That was Cuphead at Microsoft's.
I thought that was Sony. I don't remember.
I'll have to check. But they all, I thought they all more or less get that it's not the way it was 5 years ago, where it's like only about. But you're absolutely right in saying that out of all of them, Sony is the one whom, if I were a developer, I would think they might just let me do whatever I want. Like, they get that it's not so much about them. They supply the hardware, and you go nuts with it. That's what they seem to be trying to encourage people to do, and it's hopefully going to keep working for them. I'd be very sad. Just this morning, for some reason, like one of the first things I thought about is like, what if the pub fund fails and they stop? It'd be so sad if they go back to the old ways of making it only so you have to be a certain kind of person to make your game on a Sony console. That would be a bummer. Hopefully it'll survive. Hope so.
Yeah. I mean, I think all three companies are still like holding on to some values they've had in the past. Where, you know, I think that's just, they kind of have to with AAA. There's just like so much money and they can't take those risks, I guess. But
sure.
I mean, I think Sony really is in touch with how things are going, and like where things are going. Which is funny because, you know, like growing up like a Nintendo Borderline fanboy, like Sony was always like the enemy and like always copying what Nintendo's doing, like just, you know, with like the Move controller and all that stuff. But I don't know. Now they seem to be like, you know, they know what they're doing. And, like it's kind of like weird to me because I really enjoy Nintendo's games, but like as a developer, it's like they're like the farthest behind, like helping indie developers. So
Sure.
I don't know. It's kind of sad because I'd really want my game on a Nintendo console, but like I don't know.
I don't know what happened. I'd emailed the guy for you. Did he ever email you back, the guy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He did email you back?
Yeah.
Oh, neato. So it's possible, maybe, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I think our kind of thing now is like if the game does really well, like if we can, like if people really want it on these other consoles, like money's always a big thing too. So.
Oh sure.
Like
yeah, but from what I'm told anyway, the Unity to Wii U thing is fairly straightforward. That's what I've been told. Huh. So hopefully that's true. Same with PS4. Same with Xbox One. So there's chances there, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's always a chance. Like there's no console that I'm really saying no to. Like I think it'd be awesome to be on everything, but it really depends on so much stuff. Like at least this point, like the game's not even done yet. So, like, it's still pretty early to judge where things might go. But
and how long is the Ouya exclusivity for again?
I think it depends. I think it depends on how much they fund. So I think it's like for every like 10,000 that they give you, that's another month, or like a minimum of a month. So if we just make our goal and they give us 40K, I think it'll be like a 4-month thing. But then again, it takes all this time to develop the game and test the game on consoles. So it's not like we'll have a Wii U or a PS4 version done as soon as the game launches. So
Sure. So looking at probably a year at least until it's after it's been out, and then the Ouya stuff too. I wonder. Suddenly, I was remembering Octodad, which I love, which I think is another game that kind of captures how we feel when we play video games where we're destroying stuff and making a mess, but like cutifying and humanifying it. I wonder about an Octodad cameo. What about a Lateral Damage? Just like.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. I mean, I really want to do some kind of indie cameos like that. I think we talked about having like a Destructoid cameo too, maybe in the game.
That'd be awesome. All right.
That'd be pretty cool.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, actually on the Kickstarter, one of the tiers we have is it's called GamerCat, and you can get a copy of our game and then get like some Steam keys for other games, like other indie games, and Octodad's actually one of those games too.
Oh, awesome. Are you in touch with the Young Horses guys?
Yeah, they're in touch with the guys at Fireboys. So.
Cool. Yeah, there's a lot of different people that I'm sure would want to be a part of Catlateral Damage, and that's exciting to think about. Do you know a lot of other developers? Would you say you're a part of like a social scene? They do the thing here twice a month. I'm suddenly blanking on the name of it. It's not Deconstruction. It's Postmortem. Is that right?
Oh, yep.
Yeah, they do that here in the Boston area. Have you found a lot of other people making games whom you feel like you can share this process with and feel like you're part of a community?
Yeah, I mean, there's Postmortem, which is, I think it's about once a month. And there's also Boston Indies, which is a separate one, which is also once a month. And yeah, I mean, ever since college, I've been going here and there to just kind of, I mean, I think after college it was more to look for jobs, which I think is what a lot of college college graduates do. But yeah, I mean, now, I'll try to go more frequently and talk to other developers, because I mean, there's a lot of indie developers in Boston. So yeah, I mean, I know quite a few of the developers around here. But yeah, I don't know many more outside of Boston.
Sure. Yeah, it does seem to get somewhat localized by where you live, though the internet, of course, opens things up a lot. There's something different about actually sitting down with somebody. There's a different kind of trust you can form with them, and get the sense that you can tell them kind of inside stuff about what you're working on with a game, and not be as worried about just broadcasting it on a IM to somebody or through Twitter or something like that. Any of the other indies around here that you want to name? Maybe I know some of them. That would be fun.
I think you probably know Ichiro of Dejaban. Because,
yeah, that's right.
He actually went to WPI too.
Oh, really? I had no idea.
And he gave a few talks as part of our game development program. So I actually met him when I was still at school. But yeah, he's always around. And yeah, and then the guys at Firehose are here. The guys of Alchemy Labs were here.
Oh, that's right. They're making not Discourse.
Yes, it's Discourse.
It is called Discourse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that game looks great. They just barely made their Kickstarter funding. It's very happy for them.
Yeah, and then there's a few other like smaller people. There's Eric Asmussen. He's doing Disco Dodgeball.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he's around.
I didn't know he was around here. That's Oculus Rift game too, right?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if it's Oculus. I know it's on Steam Early Access right now.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, we actually talked over Twitter. I think it was like earlier this year. We hadn't actually met. But I think we were both going to the meetups, like Boston Indies, but we never actually ran into each other.
Sure.
But then, Ray. Who am I talking about? Oh, Will Brierly, a soda drinker. He's around here.
Yeah, that's who I was waiting for him to come up.
Yeah, he's funny. He's really awesome. Yeah, his game is crazy. But.
Right, he is one of the other people making a first-person something game.
Yeah.
Yeah. As opposed to being a cat knocking over something, you are someone who just loves soda, drinks them at different places, which is coming to Xbox One.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but imagine you teaming up with him for the Xbox One port. I think his game might also be made in Unity.
Yeah.
And also, like you, he's made some interesting, and this is a way to segue into the games you made before Catlateral Damage, because sadly I breezed over that, but I meant to get to that. He made some very interesting games before Soda Drinker Pro, and you made a few pretty interesting games too. There's God's Tower, there's one about smashing things. What was that one called again?
Building Bashing?
Yeah. How many games total did you put out, did you make and also put out for public consumption before you got over to Catlateral Damage?
I don't know. I never really counted. I mean, a lot of the games, I've done a bunch of small, like, demos or whatever that are just, like, on my Dropbox or whatever that I've never really released. But, yeah, there are a few on my website. Building Bash is actually one I worked with some other students at WPI to make.
Oh, cool.
And that one's basically just a prototype right now. But yeah, it was just an idea I had where you're this little, I guess, parasitic robot who can kind of possess giant buildings and then turn them into huge fighting robots, I guess. It seemed like a cool idea.
It's a super cool idea. Did you do the graphics on that one too?
Yeah, I did a lot of the art. I think it was probably about 5 of us that worked on that. It was just like a short month or two project. But,
sure.
Yeah, and then like God's Tower was for a month-long game jam back in 2011, I think. And yeah, that one is. I still like that game. I can still obviously see its flaws since I made it, but I really wanted to think of a platformer game where you're like building the platforms like while you're playing. And yeah, I had an idea for kind of like a spin-off type game too, but.
Really?
A lot of games that I made are just like, I was using Flash before, I was using Flixel. And yeah, I just like whip up some things and, see how they work, but I never really like finished a lot of the games, so.
Sure. It's a cream rises to the top thing a lot of the time where the right idea does well enough when you put it out there that you end up getting all this new energy to put back into making the game like you did with Catlateral Damage. I would imagine if it didn't really take off, you might have just let that one sit and moved on to something else. But that really took off. Is there other developers whom you really look up to these days, either big time, maybe lesser known? I'd want to hear more about that too, because your system sounds similar to the way Blambier goes about it, and they've come up in conversation a couple of times today. They'll just quickly do a prototype, and then if they feel something from it, they'll go on, and if not, they'll move on to something else, and that's a big part of why they've managed to weed out their ideas and come up with stuff that's been hugely popular. Been really happy to see them get as big as they have. So is there any developers whose technique, whose ideas you find inspiring that you've learned from?
Yeah, I think Blambier is a big one. I've met Rami at a few events, and like he just does so much, like for indies and everything. Like his whole press kit website that you can just kind of put your game info on to send to the press is nice, and all the talks he does everywhere. Just like I do like they're 2 people and they put out whatever it is, like 3 games a year, something ridiculous, just because they're. I don't know. I think they really know how to do do the indie thing.
Sure, absolutely.
Especially with their limited resources and stuff. And like how, their collaboration and all that stuff. I think they're one of the best. And they've had a lot of success, but they're still really, I guess, like indie or whatever that means.
Sure. I guess I wonder what that means. We talked about it before. I'd love to get your definition of indie, because you're working with Firehose, who is small, but they're an established company. Though I don't know if you can buy stock in them, but they've got business cards that are nice. So are they indie? I don't know. It's hard to say. What would you say indie means at this point?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it recently. I mean, I think a few years ago I probably would have said, if you're making like small, interesting games without, all the overhead of, AAA studios, I think, that's pretty indie. I mean, I think the typical definition is like someone who just sits in their basement for a few years making something with pixel art, and then, putting it out there is pretty indie. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I think you can still be successful and have money and be indie. I mean, I think, I don't know, it feels like indie games have a different feel than like AAA games. I mean, I don't know if it's just, typically they're slightly less like high quality, I guess, maybe. I don't know, because AAA games, they put, there's 500 people working on a game.
Sure.
There's a guy who just animates eyeballs or something, who just textures the rocks. Like, I don't know, I think, indie developers now, you have to be good at a few different things. You can't just be, I think, the smallishness of the team or whatever is very a very good quality or an indicator of indie developers, I think.
Sure.
I mean, I don't think you would say like a team of 3 people can make a AAA game. I guess you could, but
well, I mean, with like 1,000 years and $100 million maybe, but I get the sense that for you, a lot of it is about people taking on more than just taking on not just one small aspect of it, but they're really a lot of who they are in terms of graphics, in terms of concept, in terms of programming. When you've got a small team, when you got an indie team, so much of you as an individual is going to be in the game because there's only a few people making it, most likely. And then the larger your team gets, the less it becomes a reflection of the individuals and more of kind of this weird conglomeration of all of their brains put together. Like his ideas about eyeball animation mixed with his priorities about tree textures, mixed with his like concepts about flashlight physics, and somehow it all becomes a thing that's kind of made by committee. Indie games usually not made by committee. Maybe that's the big difference.
Yeah, I think it's like I think I said before, it's kind of like the feel of the game. And I mean, like I think even when you're making the game, there's no one really telling you what to do. Like, if I was working at a big studio or if I had a publisher or whatever, and I said I want to make a game about a cat, they'd be like, no, that won't sell. Like when you're indie, you're just like, I'll do whatever I want, like, and like just having that freedom to put stuff out. I mean, even like Team Meat's games. Like, I want to make a game about a really bloody boy that runs around and gets flipped off by the fetus in a jar. Like, no, you can't do that. Like, yeah, indie, do whatever you want.
And now they're making a game about cats too, though very different from yours. Huh? There's something going on there. There's something in the collective unconscious, Carl Jung would say. I'm thinking about cats for some reason. We have some questions that came in. I want to make sure I get to those. Right now we're doing questions mostly off Twitter. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking you want to do a question next time, watch my Twitter around 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It's Tron Knots on Twitter. I'll put out a tweet for questions, and Sinistar will be monitoring it and grabbing your questions. So we might be able to take them from the YouTube channel and stuff too. So just try to get your questions out there because they're always appreciated. Really, thank you so much. Kenneth Sharp asks, how do you feel YouTube has helped in marketing your game? Because YouTube made a big difference for you in terms of Catlateral Damage.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of news recently, I mean, around YouTube and streaming and all that stuff, and I think that really helped the exposure with my game. I think, once people see this game, they're like, oh, I need to play this, and then once they play it, they're like, I need to show other people this game. And like YouTube and Twitch is like the best way to do that now, because everyone's on the internet, and like that's where people find out about these things. yeah, I mean, my stance has always been just, yeah, if you want to make a video about my game, it's like, I mean, I think some of the other indie developers say it's like free marketing or whatever. And I guess I agree with that. I mean, I'm just one person. I can't really spread it that far. But I mean, if there are people who want to play the game and show other people, like, that's like all the power to you. I mean, I think it's like a mutual thing. Like,
Sure.
people on YouTube, they get whatever their ad revenue or their views, and get to make content. And as a developer, it just gets my, it's basically like futuristic word of mouth. Like, instead of going up to someone and telling them, you put a video on the internet, and you get way more people seeing it, and it just to me helps out everybody, I think.
Yeah, it's strange to see Nintendo in particular, whom, like you, I like a lot of their developers, I like a lot of their games historically, but they are really resistant, still very afraid, it seems, of the YouTube streaming thing. They did a great job at E3, I think, having their people at the Nintendo Treehouse kind of carefully curate what was shown of their games, and they also talked to game developers, which is a step in the right direction. Oh, my cat is going to tear up a box, maybe. Can you hear that? Yeah,
Yes.
it's hard imitating life right now. Got my split gun. Right in the ass. Get off there. Yeah, go fall. But yeah, at that Smash Brothers tournament where you were, I was excited to film you playing the game, and they were like, sorry, no footage.
Yeah.
And I was like, no footage that you just showed. I mean, at E3 there was, hundreds of hours of this footage, and it's people playing Smash Brothers. Like, is that going to hurt you in some way? And they were like, we need to carefully control what's shown, and we need to make it so footage of this game is like a commodity. We need to make it so people are like, oh my God, there's a Smash Brothers video. This is like a special event, and I need to like cherish the luck that I've been granted this day by happening to stumble upon this thing that Nintendo was gracious enough to permit me to see. We can't make it like their thought was, if you make it so these videos are common, it like devalues them, almost like if gold was common, it would no longer be worth much. But I was thinking, like, have you heard of PewDiePie? Have you heard of these? There's these guys, you see, who control what people think are interesting video games, and if you get them to play your game, and everyone else is playing your game, and it's seen as something everyone's talking about, it doesn't really matter if the videos themselves are seen as no longer a rare commodity, because your game itself will be seen as this hugely important commodity that everybody's talking about. But, I mean, I was talking to this Nintendo rep who was, like, half dead and at the bottom of the barrel, and he couldn't see. He's like, I'm sorry, yeah, dude, have a coupon for Donkey Kong. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it wasn't his fault, but that was my thought at the time, and I still stand by it. Yeah, YouTube.
Yeah, I think it's a difference between, like, I think Nintendo, they have all the resources and exposure that they can put one Smash Bros. Video out and, everyone will hear about it. But, like, at least for indies, there's so many of us with, our little games, and we put it out on the internet. Like, it's hard to reach that many people. Like, I think it's just a size thing. Like, Nintendo's so big, they have enough exposure that they can control it and
Sure.
Show people what they want. But I mean, indies, it's like, if I make this little game, I'm not going to be like, oh no, you can't show this to other people because that just hurts me. Like, but I mean, I think on both sides there are, if you're a content creator or like a developer, I mean, you created this thing that is a lot of your work, and like if someone else is making money off of it or showing it in a bad light, that kind of can come back to hurt you. But I mean, I think at least for me, that seems pretty minuscule compared to the millions of people who might watch a video about my game and decide, oh man, I want to buy this. I want to play this. So
especially when it's endorsed by people like the Game Grumps, PewDiePie, Total Biscuit. When you get these Let's Players who do commentary and give affection to your game, it really shapes the way. I think that it might be as powerful as Nintendo's marketing team on TV and whatnot. The Let's Players, I think, have just as much pull. That's my feeling about it, anyway. Here, more questions? You want a couple more? We got a little more time. Yeah, this is fun. Oh, good. What other simulator game? This is from Max Credit. And thank you, Max Credit. I meant to ask this earlier, but I moved on from it too quickly. What other simulator game do you want to see before the simulator craze dies down? Which I think is hilarious, because simulators have been around since, Flight Simulator in the 80s or whatever. Simulator has always been a thing, and it's always had a place, but for whatever reason, there's like this, I don't know if I want to say ironic, but this like knowing simulator boom right now, where it's like, we know simulators are ridiculous, let's embrace that and push it all the way past stupid into smart again, like Goat Simulator. I think Catlateral Damage does that too. Yeah, have you played Goat Simulator? Is that your kind of thing? And are there other simulator games you would like to see happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I think personally, I think every video game is technically a simulator. You're technically, doing something that you don't normally do. I mean, unless it's like a average go-to-work simulator or something like that. But
they're all technically role-playing games too, I suppose.
Yeah, I think
they're taking out a role, right? Yeah. So, but by simulator, I guess they mean like the explicit purpose of this is not to tell a story, not to like give you any particular activity, but just so you can like simulate what it is to be a thing, and that's enough.
Yeah. I mean, I think back in whenever it was, all the flight simulator games, I think those were probably released once a year or something. I think the Microsoft ones.
Sure.
And then I think it was probably just recently it was all those ones on Steam that were coming out, like the farming simulators and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like I think that's really what started it. Was people were seeing all these games for you're simulating something that's not that fun, and I think people were like finding that comedy in it, where like, yeah, flying a plane is pretty cool. I mean, but like driving a tractor, like, is that really like? And do I need a video game to like show me how awesome that is? I don't know.
Sure. I think there's a new one where you're just like mostly stuck in the mud in a Jeep.
Oh yeah, I heard of that one. Yeah. I mean, I think there were some indies picked up on that and were like, well, let's just make a really ridiculous one, like Surgeon Simulator, like a game about being a surgeon, nowhere close to actually being a surgeon. And yeah, I think I don't know. I feel like with Goat Simulator and some of these other ones, like doing not what you're actually supposed to be simulating, or simulating wrong, but it's funny and has some physics or whatever I think that's kind of novel right now. But I'm wondering how many of those games are like their main gameplay is that novelty. Like it's not really like gameplay. I don't know. Like at least with my game, I'm trying to make it so that it's actually like a game that you could play more than once. Because I feel like some of those games you watch a YouTube video and you're like, oh, I'll play that, and you play it once and you're like, well, I get it. Sure. It's out. But I mean, I know we kind of advertise Catlateral as like a cat simulator, but I think that's kind of it's kind of like a joke, because I think there is some gameplay that's there that's kind of it can be replayable, kind of I don't know, like a classic type video game.
Well, similar to Katamari, which was an influence. Katamari, at first you're like, haha, it's funny, I'm rolling things up. But after you play it for a little bit, you're like, wait a minute, I need to plan out where I'm going to go, how fast I'm going to go, how quickly can I make this turn. Like, it's a lot of the same psychology behind a racing game, except the track is determined by where's the best place to roll things up at the time, and the obstacles are sometimes alive and moving around, and what was once an obstacle will later be a thing you can roll up after you get bigger. So there's ways to make it so it seems like a novelty at first, but there's this depth lying beneath it. It sounds like you really have that depth as a priority, something you wouldn't want to see not be a part of Catlateral Damage by the time it's done.
Yeah, I think that's kind of. I think personally as a developer, yeah, I mean, I want to make a game that is actually like a game and not just like a toy that you just play around for a while. Like I think having that depth is kind of cool. Yeah. Like having that nice kind of like layer on top that people will like see and like get them interested in it. But then once you get into it, you're like, wow, there's actually something here, and like I can play this more than once. I think that's kind of cool. And,
absolutely.
So something you can like feel good about, that you're accomplishing something or progressing in some way, rather than just kind of toying around. But I don't know. I think like Katamari does that pretty well too. Where I don't know. It's funny to watch and funny to look at, but like once you start playing it, you're like, wow, this is actually a video game and not just
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wish Chibi Robo was a little bit more like that. I'm a big Chibi Robo fan, but admittedly, in the first one anyway, you're just kind of walking around talking to eggs and shooting spider robots every once in a while and like cleaning up a mess. It's a little bit of you've got to, use your energy to the utmost before you run out at the end of the day, but maybe not enough. Huh. Maybe you could make the next Chibi Robo. That would be neat.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think when I was in high school, one of the things that I guess one of my like, what do you want to do in the next 10 years, or whatever, was like, back then I wanted to like work at Nintendo because I was totally, totally a fanboy, and then like, now I'm actually like a developer, and it's like I don't know, maybe doing my own thing's pretty cool.
Yeah, doing your own thing.
I mean, Nintendo does their thing pretty well. I mean, I like playing their games. I don't know if I need to work on them. I mean, I definitely draw a lot of inspiration from Nintendo games, and like, yeah, I mean, like going back to like other developers that I like Miyamoto is like, I don't know, he finds nice ways to, find weird gameplay that, might not have been done before. I don't know, just interesting things that, I don't know.
He's looking to open things up. I think he always has wanted to make games that are for everybody, about things that we can all relate with, which is why he draws upon gardening and, God knows what else, is walking around in the woods. And the guy who created Pokemon, of course, he just loved catching bugs and Space Invaders, so that's why Pokemon turned out as cool as it is, because he was drawing upon simple, universally interesting things, which you're doing too. Huh. Yeah. You like Pokemon, I think, right?
Yeah, I'm a pretty big Pokemon fan.
Yeah, me too. I couldn't get into X and Y, unfortunately, though. Hoping that changes the next generation, but the first, Gen 1 through 5, I truly caught them all. I'll have to show you my Pokédex one of these days. And I didn't get to hear what you thought of the Smash Brothers, actually. We're running out of time, so I'm going to ask my own question. What did you think of the new Smash Brothers?
I like it. I mean, yeah, like I said, I don't play competitively, but I play, I guess, a lot. Like I didn't really have too much of an issue with Brawl that a lot of the competitive people felt. I mean, yeah, Brawl was pretty, I guess, slow and floaty, but I think the new one is kind of like, it's definitely in the middle between Melee and Brawl, where it's faster and it feels better to me.
Which character did you pick?
I think on Wednesday I played as Greninja both times, and he's pretty crazy. And then on Saturday I played as Little Mac and the Villager.
Cool.
So, but yeah, I think it runs really smooth, at least right now, and it plays really well, and I think it's going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, me too. I was always fine with Brawl. I only saw that it was slow or floaty after people told me it was. Like, initially, I would have said, it totally depends on what character you pick. If you pick Fox, it's not slow or floaty. It's fast-paced and, direct. But if you pick Meta Knight, then sure, it's a little bit slow and floaty. Then he ends up being top tier, so, go figure. Anyway, thank you for answering my Smash Brothers question. A little bit unrelated, but it was worth it to me, and therefore hopefully the listeners as well. Super Kitty Pogo Dance asks, was there anything while making your game that almost made you quit? And if so, how did you overcome that? Did you ever think, I can't do this, I'm going to quit? And if so, how'd you get through it?
I don't know, I think pretty early, like when I was building on the original prototype. So the original prototype, the paw was always sticking out. And you kind of had to like rotate the camera to knock stuff over. There wasn't like an actual SWAT or anything. And I think just trying to get that into the game was kind of hard, because I mean I was still running Unity, and just trying to get that in, and like getting it to feel right, like that was pretty hard. And like I mean I was working on it part time, so then come home from work, like bang my head against it and get frustrated. Like I don't know if I ever really got to the point where I wanted to give up. I think. Like I said, there's a lot of resources online, so I think I could, I was able to overcome a lot of the initial issues I had. But, I think just getting the game to feel right at the beginning, like just getting like the very core movement and mechanics and stuff, like getting that stuff to work is kind of a headache. But I think right now it's pretty clear, like there's a pretty clear path of how to move forward, so I think I don't know, a lot of stuff.
That's a relief. I would imagine the big thing that's going to change in the coming months is how different it feels to have a responsibility to the people who have given you money to like make a thing, that's going to meet their standards on some level. That psychology can really tamper with people's creative process. Sometimes second-guessing yourself, thinking, well, it's not about what I want to put in the game, it's what I think other people liked about my idea initially. But probably what people liked about your idea initially was that it came straight from you and was not filtered through this lens of how do I make something that's going to be popular. So I'm hoping you hold tight to the individual vision that you have and the creative inspiration to just do whatever you feel like doing, because it's really working for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, being an indie, it's very nice to have that freedom. And yeah, I mean, having all these people, the backers that have invested in it, like definitely listening to them. But yeah, there's that I wouldn't say tension, but that kind of, you know, what I want to do and what people want to see in the game.
Sure.
'Cause I think a lot of people who play games, they don't really know like the development side or maybe even like the design side of how it might fit in. Like they see all these cool things they like, but you know, as like a single person or whatever working on the game, like I can't just do multiplayer overnight. Like you know, it's really hard to do a lot of seemingly simple features or really cool features. So it's kind of balancing like what people want and what I can actually do, and like how that will affect the end product to make it actually fun. Because you know, some things that sound like really cool to do might not actually make the game fun. So I don't know, just kind of balancing all that stuff.
I see it a lot. Maybe it's another medium too, but I see it a lot in video games where people think they know what they want, but then when they get it, they're like, I didn't actually want that. But they don't know until they play it. Like it's very hard to conceive, it's just in your imagination, of how it's going to be to play one of these ideas you have about what do you think you want. So it's really up to trusting the developer who has been able to test their game out before you played it to get an idea if it's fun or not. So I trust you. I think it's going to go well. How much? We have a few more minutes, and I just remembered that I was going to pitch an idea to you and get your advice on how I could get it made. If you think, well, you could also just tell me it's a terrible idea, so don't do it. So anything could happen. But you, an experienced video game developer, I'm so lucky that I get to talk to you. You can guide me through it, and probably the listeners too. Maybe a lot of them are aspiring video game developers or video game developers whom want more ideas about how to go about making games. So this could be a great new running feature. Maybe I'll try it out on you. So last night I was watching 24 starring Kiefer Sutherland, and I was like, this is amazing. There's so many checkpoints in his life. He's constantly like, I gotta get through the checkpoint, and then like he'll get through the checkpoint, like checkpoint 2, and his life is a series of checkpoints. Why not a video game called Checkpoint, where it starts with Kiefer Sutherland saying to you, your objective is to get through the checkpoints, just angrily, like in your face, like this close to your face. So from there, you start in the kitchen, and you see like a boop, boop, red light, and you walk through the red light, and it's like a barrier that goes, checkpoint! Like, yeah, I got through the checkpoint, and then you see like 3 feet away, another checkpoint, get through it, checkpoint! And it's so dramatic every time, like you're the greatest person in the world, and you do that for like 3 hours. It's called Checkpoint.
I don't know. I think okay. So I think that's cool. I think it's cool. A cool basic mechanic. First, I don't know if you'd be able to secure the IP of 24 to make the game theme 24.
I could just do my own Kiefer Sutherland impersonation.
You could.
I was thinking making Kiefer Sutherland graphics might be tough, so I might just do like a voxel, you know, or baby. I could just do baby, you know, talking like him. That would be fun, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, if the goal is to keep reaching these points, I mean, I think that kind of abstract mechanic has worked in a few other games. I mean, that's basically racing games, right? You try to get, I mean, at least arcade ones where you're trying to get to, it's just not as dramatic. They just say checkpoint pretty.
Sometimes they're pretty dramatic. I don't know if you played Excitebots, but they get so excited in Excitebots, the Wii game. If you like make a sandwich, it's like sandwich. Or if you like play darts while you're racing, we like bullseye. It's pretty intense. So
I mean, I think I'd be concerned about, I guess, how you're presenting it. Like if it's 3D or 2D.
3D for sure.
3D.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that'd actually be more interesting than 2D. I think I'd be worried about, I guess, extendability of the idea, because I think after like the 5th checkpoint, you might get kind of bored, unless there's some kind of pressure.
My idea for that is you'd be walking towards a checkpoint, you'd see across like a field, and you're like, I'm never gonna make it to that checkpoint, and time's counting down. All of a sudden, checkpoint! Because there was a checkpoint under the ground that you didn't see, like a landmine of a checkpoint. Like, what? There's a checkpoint there, and you're eating eggs. Checkpoint in the egg. And at the end, there's like one enemy, and you're like, oh no, an enemy, I'm totally unarmed, how am I going to do it? He shoots you with a bazooka that has a checkpoint on it.
Yeah, I think if you could make it fresh like that, so it's not just the same monotonous thing, like if you, like kind of like a WarioWare type thing, where they just throw you weird things that you don't even see coming, that's how you get the checkpoint.
Maybe it's more of a 5-minute game, though, huh? Than a 3-hour.
I don't know, maybe. I mean, I think it could be endless, like kind of like endless runner games. They have, there's something that, I don't know, like if you have a time limit, it's always counting down, and maybe you get a few seconds if you hit the checkpoint. How far you can go. I mean, I guess you can make it endless like that, or you could give it some kind of ending where you have to make it through whatever 20 checkpoints and then beat the last thing or whatever. I don't know. I mean, it depends on what kind of thing people might like more. I mean,
I guess ending always feels good to me, but then I feel even better when it turns out the ending doesn't have to be the end if you don't want. Like, that's one of the things I always liked about Pokemon and liked about Chrono Trigger even. You think that's the end, but it turns out it's not. So ending to checkpoint. The baby congratulates you. You checkpointed! And it just like kisses you, French kisses you. And then, checkpoint some more if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I guess kind of going back to Catlateral, that's kind of one of the things that we've been talking about is how to make it, I guess, replayable, or kind of make it so that you want to, because the demo is really fun for like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, or whatever, unless you're like really hardcore about it and want to keep playing it. But I can see an issue of people getting bored with it. So I think one of the ways we're going to try to do that is to procedurally generate the houses, so that every time you start a playthrough, it's different.
Wow.
And then what will happen is, you still have that closure where you'll run through 4 or 5 houses, and then at the end there'll be some kind of big gameplay thing where I'm kind of playing around with this idea where, you trash your first house, that is the one you live in, and then you go outside, you don't really go outside, you take a nap, and you wake up in another house, you trash that house, you go to take a nap, go to the next house, and then, at the end you go to this big, the houses get bigger and bigger each time. It's kind of like Katamari, it gets harder each time.
Sure.
There's more stuff to do. And then, at the very end, you trash this big, this huge mansion that has a bunch of, expensive stuff in it. And there's the safe at the end that you have to unlock. And there's a hidden object in there that's really valuable that you have to destroy. And then once you destroy that, your mission is complete. You're like the secret agent cat that's going through, causing all this damage in your wake to destroy whatever this special object is at the end. I don't know, and it'll be kind of like, Binding of Isaac or like FTL, where, every time you play it's different. And you're trying to, see how far you can get or how well you can do going through. Just so it, has that replayability.
Huh?
But yeah, kind of like, I guess another thing with the gameplay, yeah, like knocking stuff over is fun, but like the 10th time is knocking that stuff over going to be as fun,
Right,
so, like,
right.
Kind of to address that, we're thinking about different modifiers, like a lot of these like procedural games have, like these roguelikes have collectibles that kind of alter your gameplay. So, you collect, this hidden cat toy, and maybe it makes you jump a little higher. Or, you collect this other one, and your swatting is more powerful, or something like that. Just It's kind of modifiers and collectibles that keep you wanting to play. Because I think a lot of people like to collect things, and they like to see what's new and, have a different experience every time they play.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Upping the amount of variables. In a simple game like Risk of Rain, even, just like having those variables be truly unpredictable can make every game fresh. And being a cat is pretty unpredictable. I wonder if you'll add variables to how the cat behaves. Oh, and what about water? It's kind of the cat's biggest enemy. You can have like tubs, you can have sinks that are, moths. Oh, so many things you can do. Unfortunately, we are a little over time. I had a great time talking to you, though. Hopefully you had a decent enough time yourself.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you so much, Chris Chung, creator of Catlateral Damage. You can check him out on his website, chrischung.org. .com, your company. And you've got a Kickstarter that's going to be up for another 23 days.
19 or 18 days, I think.
Oh, my mistake. 19 or 18 days, Catlateral Damage on Kickstarter. Check it out. Maybe some of the ideas we talked about today. If you want to make Checkpoint a stretch goal, it's all yours. Make Checkpoint all night. Or any of the listeners, you want to make Checkpoint, that would thrill me to no end. So yeah, you have that option. And you're also on Twitter, Catlateral DMGE.
DMG.
DMG on Twitter, so follow his updates there. And also check out Firehose Games, local company he'll be working with. They're great. They did such games as Go Home Dinosaurs. Blanking on some of their other ones suddenly. But they make very good stuff.
Yeah, Slam Bolt Scrappers.
Slam Bolt Scrappers, yeah. I think they did one of the Rock Bands.
Yeah, they worked with harmonics a lot, too.
Yeah.
They did like the original prototype for Dance Central. And
oh, that's
Rock
right,
Band
yeah.
Kids.
Really neat guys. I'll have to get them on the show if they're, of course, so willing to be on. Sean Baptiste, great guy. He was at Harmonix and Firehouse, now I think about it. As for me, at TronKnots on Twitter. The show is on Libsyn and iTunes. You can listen to it later if you prefer that. I kind of would prefer you did that because I watch these shows afterwards for like literally 30 seconds and I'm just mortified. I'm like, oh, what happened to my face? So sad now. But if you do want to watch it, it's on YouTube. We put up little clips of some of the most select choice moments of every episode as best we can. And also the full episode is on there for your listening or viewing pleasure on YouTube. Sup Holmes Show is the page on there. So please check it out. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Jeez,
thank you.
Kickstand Cafe. Looking forward to showing you that place. Delicious. So long. Bye.